Couple of Aussies. This is the Outside Gate with Steve Hall on the L4 Media Network, where we talk US Moto and anywhere the conversation goes. And ready for a good old Aussie chinwag today from Live Motocross. Ed Stratmann, how are you, dude?
I'm well, thanks, mate. Thanks for the insight. Thanks for the insight and the invite, mate. Really appreciate it. It's good to be on your show, mate. Love listening to it. It's some really cool episodes and some really heavy hitters you get on there, mate. So it's cool to get the invite.
No worries, man. No, you've been on the list for a while, man. We met a couple of years ago at a one of the Aussie rounds in Queensland, I think, and had a good
The
yarn then.
last
And
ever Coolum.
that's right. That's where it was too.
Yeah.
Yeah, last ever Coolum. Yeah, that's it. And so yeah, we sort of. I actually lost you for a little while in between jobs there because you changed your Instagram stuff changed, and I lost you. And then with the help of Jeff Beaver, I found you again, and we
Yeah.
started talking. And now I got you on the show there. Yeah, so
Nah,
um,
Jeff's a legend, isn't he?
he is, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I guess do you want to just introduce a bit of just what you do and that sort of thing? Yeah, with Live Motocross and that, and just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, mate, it's really cool. Obviously, with Live Motocross these days, was at MX Vice for a year, 18 months, and then that sort of changed hands and whatnot. So that's a story for another day. But yeah, anyway, with Live Motocross now, and it's been really enjoying it. Obviously, Gareth Hockey runs that, and they run things like the Western Beach Race, and they promoted the British Championship this year. So I get hurlings there, and I do all the press releases and stuff like that for them, and just really cool just to sort of stay in the industry after the last job sort of ended. So. I'm really loving it, mate. Good people, and Conway, another guy that used to work at MX Vice, sort of gave me the contact there, which was really good of him. So always grateful for him, and yeah, just stay in the industry, mate, and also do a bit of work at Inside Dirt, an Aussie publication with Joe Stevens. So that's also really cool, mate. So cool to stay in the motocross world and keep doing my freelance soccer writing about European stuff. Soccer or football, mate, depending on where you're from, mate. There's a
Yeah,
tensions flare a bit about that, as you
it's a
know.
touchy subject sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, it's just we're just sort of growing the platform and trying to get some content out of the US, the Aussie, even a bit of New Zealand, like we were saying, would be pretty cool. And the GPs were pretty heavily focused on being obviously the bosses are being European based. So yeah, mate, it's exciting times, mate. We kind of cover all bases like you do.
That's it, man. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that reminded me. The soccer football thing reminded me. Mate, I used to work with him for years. Very funny guy, a British guy. He came out here, and he was a big fan of which one of the big teams. He was a big Arsenal fan.
Me too.
But yeah, I used to call it soccer just on purpose, like always refer to the soccer. And he would get up on his soapbox and he'd be like, "It's football, it's the world game," and all that sort of stuff. It was awesome stirring him up about that. So that's yeah, reminded me of a bit of fun there, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I don't know much about soccer, man. Not much at all. I know who the big teams are in England, and I know we've got a couple of teams in Melbourne, and that's yeah. I don't know too much more than that. I'm like a lot of Aussies, man. I'll sort of take notice when they're playing in the World Cup. If the
Yeah.
Aussies are in the World Cup, or we all sort of get around that because that we're a sporting nation, or Olympics, things like that. But I don't know heaps other than that. Yeah. But I was just growing up an Aussie rules guy here in Victoria,
Yeah.
so not a lot
Same,
of
mate.
yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it, man. Yeah. Hey, do you want to so always, man, I ask about how you got into motorcycles, man. How had the bug bite, how'd your interest get sparked in it all?
Yeah, I guess growing up as a little kid, grew up on a farm and the old man was a farmer and, used to just enjoy riding the bikes for fun, having a laugh. Me and my brother used to obviously have a few stacks, mate, back in those days when a youngster, you don't ride with no helmets. There's no safety things going on back then, like I'm sure you know about, but it's just fun, just being outside as a kid, I'm at that age, sort of mid 30s, where there was not really any phones and limited sort of video gaming. So I was just playing cricket and footy and, riding the bikes when we could in the backyard. And obviously until the crashes happen and the bikes go away a little bit. But yeah, just always just enjoyed watching it as well because obviously in that period, Chad Reed, which we can touch on a bit later, but yeah, just really cool what he did over there, mate. Just the mindset, the mentality, the approach, sort of rising to the occasion against those guys. And I guess like MotoGP too, I used to enjoy that and superbikes when we had Bayless and Corsa and you look at, those guys on the world stage, and you get home from school, and the old man would tape it on the VHS, and you'd sit like 2 meters away from the TV and rewatch all the races. It was pretty cool. The Rossi days and Barros and Caparossi and Biaggi, Haga, all these cool riders. So that was, I guess, kind of how I got into bikes and just loved sport and being outside. I guess that probably resonates with you too, mate.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Do you remember what your first bike was?
Yeah, it was a little Kawasaki, mate. I remember the old man had just a farm bike and just rode for fun. We didn't really race or anything because we
Yeah.
were pretty. It gets to a point where you like sort of pick an avenue, and I guess went cricket and footy pretty heavy. Went right into that avenue, and it's probably a bit more cheaper and a bit easier for the parents and just manageable to do that serious and keep the bikes fun. So I guess
Yeah.
it's just a little one to get us going, mate. And then it doesn't take long. It's just fun being on a bike, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was probably like one of them little rotary valve
Yeah,
Kawasaki,
yeah,
the little
yeah. Little
like what were they, KV 100 or something like that. Yeah, a lot
something
of
along
kids,
those
a lot of
lines.
young
Yeah,
kids at school had those. Yeah, yeah. I used to know all the farm bikes real well because a lot of the kids at school they didn't have motocross bikes yet, but they had little farm bikes. So you sort of,
yeah,
I know
yeah.
all
They
those.
they
I
all
know
get
all
the
those
bug, don't
models.
they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah. And who were your so you touched on a few there, man, but who were your childhood heroes, man? So was it Chad? Was that sort of he was right in your era there?
Yeah, pretty much, mate. Obviously, being Aussie, it's sort of hard not to. It sort of follows a pretty similar theme, back around that period, doesn't it? And sort of yeah, and I remember, you watch those little documentaries and, like like an ESPN thing. I remember this like Aussies Abroad feature they did on him and just that sort of never say die mentality. And, they big it up on those things too, mate. And he was a really fierce competitor. He kind of still is, seeing that Brisbane Supercross the other week and he's talking about his son. It really hurt him that his young bloke got the collarbone and the rib injury and he was sort of I guess it's really cool that Tate actually wants to do that because at the Newcastle Supercross, I remember last year, it was kind of quite a long way off, not on it, but at the Brisbane Supercross, the amount of progress he'd made, he was the fastest, 85cc. So, he's no better man to learn from, but it was good that he sort of let the kids, want to do it, not forcing them to do it. So, yeah, he was a big one, the grit, the approach, just going up against the best there was, I guess you could say, and not getting swarmed by him, holding his own emphatically and winning titles. And you got to commend it, don't you, mate? And that was like a big era of moto that, and he definitely held his own. And being a big soccer fan, obviously as well. If we want to dive
Yeah,
off
man.
topic a bit, like as
Yeah.
an Arsenal fan, like 20 years ago, the 03-04 Invincibles with Arsenal, they went through the whole season undefeated, like in the Premier League, which is no mean feat. I don't know if you know any of these guys like Jon Rees, Bergkamps, Tony Adams, hard as nails, Keown, Silva, Perez, Ljungberg, all these guys, mate. And they played really sort of swashbuckling football with a lot of attacking swagger. And then, like we touched on the MotoGP and the World Superbikes with guys like Bayless and Corsa and Rossi, Caparossi, Shinji Nakano, Haga, Abe, so many cool dudes out there. So I guess a little bit of a mixed bag there, mate, because I was really into the sport and then you sort of get older and you got to channel your focus towards certain things. But yeah, it's a bit of a broad stroke, that one, mate. Probably a bit too much info for the listeners
No,
there,
no,
but
that's cool, man. Do you still follow road racing a lot?
well, I work for Joe Stevens as well. I do a little bit of work for Inside Line, which is one of his other publications, and I do a bit of freelance sort of work for a guy in Sydney as well, writing some Aussies abroad stuff. And yeah, so I keep my finger on the pulse of the road racing, and there's lots of cool Aussies doing great things, like you saw on the weekend. Miller, he had a bit of issues with the wildlife there, mate, with the seagull and the rabbit, and obviously Senna Agius getting a podium, which is so cool, and then Kelso and Ralston holding their own in Moto 3. So the talent's there, mate, and it's just so difficult. You got to move so young, I guess, to even have a chance in road racing. I suppose a little bit like Moto, like the Lawrence brothers, I guess, is that's a pathway that's worked for them. But to be an Aussie, it's so far away, and you got to expose yourself to that competition so young, because especially in road racing, those Spaniards and Italians will just get the jump on you, race and elite every single weekend. So yeah, respect to any Aussies that make it on the world stage, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a long time since I've been super into watching road racing. Man. It would be Casey Stoner days. Would be
Yeah.
like that's we're going back a bit, and even still then, I wasn't watching all the time, but you'd go right back to mix days when I was watching all the time.
Yeah.
And I know my dad still, he loves it. He watches, he knows all of what's going on. So yeah, my dad's not into anything to do with dirt. He loves it. He only loves when they're anything's racing on tar. He's into it. He doesn't want to see any vehicles dirty. So
Oh.
he's never not dirt bikes, man. Yeah,
You're going
that
to get him to the Aussie Supercross with the Lawrence brothers and Cooper Webb, the AusX Open. You'll get him to that or not?
nah, man, nah, no chance. Nah, nah, no chance of that, man. Yeah, that's it. That's it, dude. Do you have a So we've just had a pretty amazing couple of seasons, both in Europe and in the States, man. Obviously, our Aussie one here is still going, but do you have a favorite moment out of Europe and a favorite moment out of the States for the year? It's a tough. I've asked this a few people.
It's
It's a tough one.
it is a tough one. I guess there's quite a few because, like yourself, mate, we watch a lot of racing and obviously the British Championship as well. But to focus on what you said, like Hurlings is, he's just a weapon. When he hits that beast mode, he's like that Tomac, isn't he? And I guess those rides at Lommel and Arnhem just absolutely sort of crushing the competition, and the way he can just come back, especially in the sand, it's just nothing short of phenomenal, isn't it, mate? And I guess the way he sort of has that ascent, that insatiable appetite, I guess, for success and to win and to put in the work and just to ride the bike, because he obviously loves the money, but he loves the gate drops too. And I guess he pretty much races every weekend he can, whether it's French, Dutch, British Championship. He's always there. Even like I think it was the 2 days or the day before Arnhem, he raced this little local race. And, even last weekend, after the Nations, he was racing at Valkenswaard and this Dutch finale. Like, so I guess those rides at Lommel and Arnhem were really impressive. And I guess, still one from Dark Side here. I guess that Sexton one at Hangtown was really epic, how he did that. Obviously, that was a bit of a tough one for the Aussies to stomach with the jet going down that weekend, mate. And also things like AP's first 450 win in Supercross, that was so special after he
Mm.
came so close. And everyone remembers that moment. And
Yeah,
I spoke to JT quite a lot, and he was, he does interviews with him. And yeah, he's really cool. Just the emotion AP has, and he's such a good ambassador for the sport. They should sort of set aside some money just for him, mate, because he does it without trying, doesn't he? He gets
he
people
does.
into
Yeah,
it, and he's such a
yeah,
good bloke, and he keeps it real, and he's just being himself, isn't it? Which is really cool. And yeah, you can't go past some of those rides Lucas Coonan put in. Even at the Nations, he was on fire passing 450s before he wasn't, and crashed and did the shoulder collarbone there. But yeah, just so much, mate. I guess the crescendo of that was Aussies winning the Nations, mate. You sort of, as for us, it's particularly special because never won it before.
yeah.
I think they're only the 11th team in history to win it. So what an effort by the lads, mate. And I guess Kyle Webster stepping up and the Lawrence brothers did their thing. And Jet once again showed why he's the best out there, didn't he?
Yeah, 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 he did, man. That was a great Nations, man. It was a great Nations. Like, it was great for the fact that we won, but all the racing was amazing, man. Every race, even that 125 Yamaha race was great. Oh, like young Townley and the young British fella going at
Yeah,
it, like,
Keith.
that was wicked. That and even the B final was exciting. Like it was a really really enjoyable the whole thing, and like I wasn't confident that we were going to win it until well into that last race,
Yeah.
and it seemed like we don't make a mistake and we got this, it was all pretty close, and a couple of moments in the Nations, man, where the front of that MX1 class or the 450 class, man, was just incredible. The names, man, like we
Yeah.
might never ever see that again. It's a shame Chase wasn't there because everyone else
Yeah.
was like all the best guys from both series were all running in like the top 8, and they're all in a bunch. Like it was just incredible to see.
Pretty spoiled for that one, weren't we?
Oh yeah, man, like it was just yeah, just absolutely incredible, man. It really was. So yeah, and like I said on other shows, yeah, Master Pools wins my favorite thing out of the
Yeah.
US, and that because because I'm mates with his mechanic, so it was a particularly it was personal for me. But yeah, I guess as far as excitement, Chase's second moto, where he come the last to first, that's one of them ones we'll be talking about that in 20 years' time. Do you remember Sexton 24 at this and that. Like it'll get referenced forever in folklore now, that one. So that was cool, man. And there, I would struggle to have a moment out of the GPs just because like I was saying to you off air, it's my first season watching all the GPs and sort of trying to really learn riders and all that sort of thing. And so it's hard to because of that. My memory's just not as clear of every race. Like I can picture these things, but I can't tell you which round or which track, what the track was called, which round it was at, and that sort of thing. But my overall general thing, just some of the Kernan de Wolf battles was the best things. Like that was just amazing, man. Those
Just on
two,
it.
those two are just freaks, and they're especially like I love I especially love De Wolf's riding style.
Yeah.
That's just wild, man. I love it. It's hard to explain. He's sort of got his own style, hasn't he? I couldn't even
Yeah.
compare it. There's a
It's kind of
little
like a little bit of a mix between, like a Jason
yes,
Anderson
yeah.
and something like that. He sort of surfs, doesn't he, and
There's a
sort of
little bit of
flows
Jason Anderson
quite
in it.
nice. But he's pretty loose, though. But he's also, quite technically assured when he needs to be as well, the way
Yeah,
he corners, and obviously working with Ruben, who used to work with Hurlings. He's a great trainer, and obviously Rasmus in his corner at the Nestan team. He's got a lot of people on his side, and he's really matured into what he was. I guess he's probably been thinking he should have done this 2 years ago because he's got all the talent in the world and he's been there and thereabouts. And last year was a good step forward, had the red plate, and then the injury scuppered him. And then this year he got the job done. Consistency. He knew Coonan was coming at him, and he's probably a hard teammate to be around because second's not an option for him really. He's like
yeah,
pin it or win it or bin it really. So
yeah,
he's a special mindset, a lot of them, and yeah, they're quite defiant and determined. And obviously, I guess the key topic is they all want to go to America, don't they, mate? So
yeah,
and speaking to JT, he sort of made a good point saying it was like a perfect storm in a lot of ways this season. You had the GP title fight, and obviously Prado's going to be leaving, and Kernan and De Wolf could be leaving. And you got like the younger French guys like Vallon, who won the MX 250, and Benestant and Rossi, and they're probably looking to go America, same as Harrop. It was a really special season 2025 on a lot of ways and a lot of reasons. So who knows how much longer we'll get to enjoy such good seasons. I think next year will be pretty special as well. But yeah, really a lot of good things came out of this year, mate.
they did, man. And there's some pretty amazing storylines that can happen in the future. Like we're all sort of piecing things together, like who's still in what class in America when Lucas and Kai get there, and who else from Europe's going to come across, and how's Prado going to go, and when's Deeg's going to move up, and who's going to still be in the US 450 class, and that like there's some tasty stuff there, isn't there? Like
Yeah.
it's
I remember
pretty
your mate
pretty
DB
amazing.
was predicting Deegan might go outdoors next year for 450, which would be pretty cool. I don't know. You've heard certain things that it might not happen
Yeah,
until the following year, but either way, it's enticing, isn't it?
yeah. It's you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. I think yeah. I reckon Brian wouldn't want him to go up too soon. Brian's
Mm.
pretty shrewd. He's very smart operator, and I reckon he'd be saying, "Nah, you back up that 250 and just dominate, and then go up when you're really ready." That's what I think he'd do. Whereas Hayden himself, I'd say he's like, "Let's do it now," like because he's just like I love that kid. He's awesome. Like even when he does things even when he does things that I don't like, I still like the kid. Like he's awesome.
Mm.
He's great for the sport and just unbelievable talent. Like damn, that kid. I never expected it. I knew he'd be good, but I never expected him to be this good. You know, we just
Same,
had
isn't it?
he's another freak. Like we just had Jet, turn up as this freak, and you didn't expect to get another one for 10 years. Like and we got two running around at the moment. It's incredible, man. That the talent in that 250 class, and he just damn like he's just smacking them around now. Like
It's
it's
absolutely wild. Like you look at that 250 class, and it's basically, the top 15 and 20 bikes are all factory, and to be
mm,
able to just like dismantle the field like that with such an authority and conviction and do it in his own way as well. He's not like a Jet Lawrence or a Chase Sexton. You know, his riding style is really his own, even though he's obviously worked so hard to clean it up and he trains with Tomac and Roxon and he gets different insights, which is really cool that he's not just sort of narrow-minded. He always knows he can get better and he probably knows he needs to get better because Jet Lawrence is, you know, right now he's on another level. He's something truly special, and so is
Mm.
Sexton. So is Hunter. He goes under the radar, mate. What an amazing
He
full
does, yeah.
50 rookie year. You know, there's no title on the name except for the nations, but wow, any other year he's probably, you know, he's got an outdoor title. He's won
That's
SMX.
right.
You know, it's just his brothers in the way there. But yeah, special athlete as well, isn't he? And we're lucky they're
Mm.
both Australian, and I hope they don't burn him too much out with 31 races a year plus the nations, plus they're doing Paris, plus they're doing AusX Open. So
Mm.
it's another question that's interesting is how much longer are those guys going to be wanting to do the nations? But I guess one positive is they're really grounded and humble and they know how much it means to represent their country. And they probably, you know, Dazzy does such a good job with them, keeping them humble, that he knows that the fundraising effort back home with Leask and Gall and these kind of guys, they put so much on to put them in a position to win, you know, and they put it on the line and they got Webster over there for, you know, 5 6 weeks or whatever
Yeah.
to get that HRC bike dialed because you know that's you know not everyone gets that luxury and you know the Aussie fundraising effort all helps to go towards that happening. So I guess they don't want to bite the hand that makes it happen as well, which I guess is really cool to see in the age of, you know, you see the Americans guys pulling out, this isn't right, don't want to do this. The Aussies just made it happen and that all in collective sort of team effort and the HRC crews helping out and even the British team, Lexa MX helped them out with the setup on the weekend. It's like you really got to have it dialed to give yourself every best possible chance, like the French usually do. So hopefully we can
Mm.
keep it running, mate, and go on a streak.
Absolutely, man. You know, I think it makes a big difference for, you know, the perspective of the US riders. I think it's just different because they've won so much, man. Like it's not as special because they've won so much. Like, yeah. Imagine if the US had never won before. Oh man, they're going all out, aren't they? Like, you know, like we do, you know. So it's definitely, you know, they've won so much and for them, you know, anything, you know, there was decades where for us a podium was amazing.
Hmm.
Whereas for the States, if it's not a win, it's a loss, you know, like, you know, and there's a lot of them are pretty proud of their guys with the second this year, but still in their heart, there's like the US wants to win at everything, all sports, everything in the world. The US is used to winning, you know, so there's the culture's different. So you sort of do
And
understand
that's
that.
kind of sad. Like you see them, like if we can't send a team that's going to win, we don't want to go. Like that's where that
I
attitude
heard
comes in, doesn't it?
there was people who said that. Yeah, there was people I heard said that, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing for the Americans that are really patriotic. You know, like I got some mates that are real super patriotic, man. Like our mate Jeff Beaver, man. Like he's waving the flag, man. Like you know, and they're real patriotic, and they're really disappointed to hear other Americans say, oh, we if, what's the use of going? We might not go, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, you know, because you can't imagine, you couldn't possibly imagine an Aussie getting asked to go and saying no. Could you? Like, there's no
Mm.
chance, like, no
Yeah,
chance any Aussie, like, ever would be asked to
yeah.
go and not go. Like, so, yeah,
It was pretty, you know, special what they did. I guess the last 3 years they've gone 3-2-1, haven't they? And it's
mm,
pretty sad what happened to Mitch Evans with his injury because you know, he
yeah,
was a legitimate, you know,
yeah,
like he could have been, he was like talent-wise world championship winning level talent, like
yeah,
on the HRC and on the Kawasaki. And, you
mm,
know, hopefully one day he can get back to racing, even if it's in Australia. But yeah, it's really sad how injuries can just decimate someone like that because you know, he had a huge future like the Lawrence brothers, mate. And I guess it's really cool that it might he would have his future was obviously on a 450, and then
mm,
I suppose we were lucky enough that Webster was so good at adapting back to the 250 this year because
yeah,
it's a bit of a different one. Like Cooper Webb going from 450 to 250. You know, a lot of guys say that transition's a bit smoother than doing the 250 to 450, which is, I guess, played into our hands. But yeah, there's a lot of things that have to go right on the nations, and Australia's in a pretty good place, I guess. You know, you know Caden Minier well. He's in a good position, and it looks like he's going to America as well. And you know,
mm,
there's some bright stars. But if you can get Webster doing what he's doing, you're probably going to be picking him for the next couple of years, aren't you? If he's fit and healthy, and they need a 250 guy because he's shown what he can do. And like Beaton's an amazing rider and he was right up there, but you probably can't see him going back to a 250, even though he was excellent in those MX2 days. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we might be sorted with that team for a couple of years unless someone really sort of shoots to the front in back home. But it's exciting times, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, you don't know. Like, there's some pretty good up and coming 250 guys in Australia. Yeah, it's some pretty, there's,
Yeah.
like, just thinking of like guys like Jake Cannon and, some of these
Yeah.
guys, man, like if that kid's career projection, man, if it keeps going the way it is, like that kid, he's just going from strength to strength, so there's, you
And
never
that's
know.
with that huge injury at Newcastle
Yes,
Supercross
man.
was not that far off career ending. And then you see him come out and, a year later and he's doing Supercross again after he's won that title in the MX3 there. So he's a special talent. He's definitely destined for bigger and better things, mate. Sadly, obviously you got to lose him in the Australian moto scene, but there's some really good sort of pathways and training programs and structures in place for these kids to get that pretty good high level experience at a young age. Like Mini, obviously, or the reports are he's off to America and start racing.
Yeah.
And then you go, it's sort of hard because he's used to racing against men and full professionals, and then you might go back and race amateurs. So it's a bit of a like, what's better for your development, isn't it? It's one of those questions. Obviously, those amateur kids rip, but he probably wants to be racing the pros because you get a bit more of a, I guess, a bit more of a battle, and you got guys that are probably got a bit more racecraft, and you might learn a little bit more. So it's a tough conundrum for the youngsters, mate. But I guess you can't really say no to an American opportunity that
No.
obviously hope to see him doing some pro races, hopefully outdoors or something like that. But for that Supercross step, I guess it makes sense for the futures and all that stuff because it is a big step. American Supercross, Australian Supercross, obviously had all the whoops chat, mate, which is a key talking point from the opening couple of rounds. But yeah, it's really exciting time to be an Aussie Moto fan. Like, we got the WSX doubleheader coming up. The Aussie Supercross series is really good. The AusX Opens, good. We got the MXGP at Darwin, mate. So there's a lot to be excited about. And obviously the Pro MX series is excellent too. So not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, it's going great at the moment. So we might move on a little bit to Aussie stuff, man. Like, what was your thoughts on Brisbane, man? Like, I thought it was fantastic from the couch, man. That was, it's hard to just say, oh, that's the best Supercross we've had in 10 years or whatever, but it felt like that. It felt like the
Yeah.
best Supercross round we've had from a wide view, from the TV, the track, the caliber of riders with our guys going well and some really good imports. The facility looked great. The broadcast was great, except for live timing, but I won't even pick on that because everything else was so good. And we got Brayton in the booth, who was fantastic. Like, wow, he wasn't he good? And
Yeah.
our friend, our man Trent, got his first
Yeah.
TV gig. He came off the
Good
bench
on
because
him.
Lee Hogan was crook and did his first TV gig doing the on ground stuff.
Yep.
I and the racing was amazing, man. Like I just thought, it was hats off, top job to the guys for Brisbane. Round two with the day event, it didn't yet, but that's anywhere in the world, anytime. Daytime Supercrosses doesn't look right, so it just didn't look as good. But the racing was awesome, and after it got dark for the last race, it looked good again. But yeah, daytime Supercross, no one ever likes that. But I get why they did that for a Sunday. Yeah, you're going to get more people there because people got to work on Mondays, so yeah,
Yeah.
they don't want to be out late. So, but yeah, what was your thoughts on Brisbane, man?
I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I was there, working for Live Motocross and doing some inside dirt work with Joe. And obviously, Joe Stevens was on the track doing the track announcing, the commentary and was getting the fans riled. And yeah, they really enjoyed it. They came out in force. And there was a little bit of chat. Obviously, you mentioned a little bit of a thing that was tough to deal with the live timing. I guess for the riders' perspective, having a night race and then a day race, that's not the easiest turnaround for them, especially for guys like Medi, he's pretty old, mate, but he's still an absolute weapon. He makes it look easy.
Yeah,
He's definitely underrated, obviously, with Aussies. We were talking about Chad Reed and these kind of guys, Burner, but Medi, like the career he's had, something special, and he's still
yeah,
going. And it's really amazing. I feel like because he's just such a humble, easygoing bloke that he probably gets overlooked a little bit. But yeah, shine the spotlight on him as much as we can, I guess, because what he did in America and had the longevity and he's still going and he just loves it. He loves it, which is really cool to see. But back to the AusX, yeah, really cool to see Trent doing his thing, mate. Obviously, he's worked so hard over the years and great reward for all that work because he certainly loves it and he knows there's not many blokes in Aussie Moto that know more than him. So credit to him, mate. And obviously, yeah, Danny Ham and Brayton in the booth. And it's a really professional setup and it's well executed. And, the racing backed it up. The guys, Mick in charge of the AusX and the team there, you know them too, mate. They've put a lot of hard work and they're always looking to improve. They kind of have that never settle approach. And the series is really making huge strides in the last couple of years. And it was good to have that double header, I guess, to really kick it off with a bang, even though maybe you sort of spread a bit of the coverage out. But, in terms of travel and the cost of motorsports and for the teams, having two in one is a great way to do it, isn't it,
It
mate?
is,
Maybe
man. Yeah,
should be another, maybe that could happen in Pro MX as well at some point, where they do double headers and whatnot. But yeah, there was a lot of talking points, like you said, mate. The Honda Racing rivalry, Cole Thompson leading the way, Brody, Shane McElrath, Noah
yeah,
Ferguson getting his first
yeah,
win. And he was skimming those whoops on night one too. I think it was
yeah,
pretty much him and Dean Wilson were leading the way in that category, and it was really impressive. And then you see the Jats Richo videos afterwards and
yeah. That
the
was
Danny
funny.
Ham comments on the whoops. It was definitely got their good coverage worth, and it was really good racing. I enjoyed it, and that clout victory, battling it out with Savachi and Wilson, that was a good little bit of a flex for the Aussie lads, and a flex for him too, mate, because he felt coming in that he wasn't getting the right credit he deserved, and he knows what a gamer he is. He's got that hard edge, and he loves riding with a chip, doesn't he, mate? So
Yeah,
he
yeah.
brought that out, and he's going to be a tough competitor, and hasn't done a heap of supercross on that Empire Kawasaki, obviously. And yeah, he's really cool rider to watch on the track. He's coming, he's revving, he's taken no prisoners, a bit like Mossy, mate. So to have those Aussies holding their own against Wilson and Savachi, the series is really shaping up nicely. And yeah, no, mate, it might not be AMA Supercross, mate. Nothing is, but the caliber of rider they managed to attract and it's on a level of World Supercross. Probably before they announced Tomac, everyone was saying, Aussie Supercross is probably the second best Supercross series in the world. It still
Yeah,
might be.
probably. Yeah, yeah.
Like the depth, the quality, the talent, the show. World Supercross has had so much flux, so I guess a lot of fans will be thirsty for action, and in the off season, it's a perfect sort of series to fill the void, isn't it?
It is, man. Yeah, yeah. No, well, I'm really impressed. Yeah, and of course that was. I still laugh about that Cole Thompson's takeout, man. Like, how is it like? I just wish, and not picking on him. This is in fun, but I wish someone had a camera on your Reeves' face when it happened. That was like that would be awesome. Like, you imagine this. Because like Uribe, he wears his heart on his sleeve, man. Like, he's an emotional guy. Like, the look on his face would have been something special when that happened, man. I wouldn't be surprised if he threw something. So yeah, but
Yeah,
man,
was it
like,
like five of the top six riders in the points Honda riders in the 250 class? So it's good having the lockouts and being able to
yeah,
dominate, but it also there's a few problems whenever every single one of them are battling for victory, aren't they? Because they're all super
yeah,
fast riders, they're all rightfully up there, and yeah, it's really good to see, and the series is
yeah,
going to be excellent. And then you got guys like Kingsford and Reed Taylor, super talented as well, and
mm,
Barham's going to be doing World Supercross with Kingsford, CDR Yamaha, Moss and Tomac. Great opportunity for him as well. Great bloke. So
mm.
there's many takeaways, mate. But yeah, that Honda one, like you said, it's going to be one to sort of grab the popcorn and follow, not just in SX2, but in SX1 with Wilson and Savage. That's some few choice words for each other too.
Yeah, yeah. It's I get the feeling, man, that like Uribe's always, had an US import and had a pretty good team. But this season seems like he has just thrown everything out. He's gone the full Bobby Reagan. Like, I want everybody. I'm signing everybody. I reckon, and it makes sense. I think he's trying to lock out the whole of 24. He won everything in outdoors, even the women's class.
Yep.
So he won all four outdoor titles. His riders won the first Motocross of Nations for Australia, and I'd say he's probably got. He's very competitive guy. Obviously, I'd say he's basically pushing all his chips in. Like, I'm winning all the Supercross series as well, and then I've won every single thing in 24. So I reckon that's what the goal is. It's easy to see, and he's on his way to do it by the looks of things. Like the depends. The SX3 is probably his hardest one. He's going to be relying on Jake to get it done, and that. So the WBR boys are looking good, and so
Yeah.
the SX3 might be a tricky one. But man, yeah, SX2, he's got like, five. He's got five guys all capable of winning in SX2. Like Larwood looked
Good box
amazing.
office.
Larwood looked amazing, but he
Mm.
got set for crashing. Fergo wins a night, and that's just the two young Aussies without the three imports.
Yeah.
Connolly, I couldn't believe how good Connolly was at Supercross. That
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. He looked great.
That was his first ever proper Supercross
Yeah,
racing.
I
So
know, and he's
so
up there.
impressive.
He's up there rubbing shoulders with McElrath and Thompson. So, and I'll
He obviously had something to prove as well because I'm pretty big on the talent and just what he did with outdoors in the Pro MX2 class. He just literally pretty much
yeah,
wiped the floor, didn't he, mate? And it's no mean feat in that class. And I was really looking forward to seeing how he'd do in China, and I think he was too, and the nations, and it just didn't come together
didn't
for
go
him.
well.
Mistakes,
No.
a little bit keen to impress, bike issues. It was just like I guess just the worst possible outcome for him in a lot of ways, short of getting injured. So because like talking to a lot of blokes in Europe and saying this guy should probably deserves a factory ride in MX2. I reckon he could do some real damage. And I guess maybe he stays in Australia now for a bit longer, but he's got all the talent to succeed on the world stage. And just to have that reassuring ride that things can
Yeah,
go right for him again is really good for the confidence boost. And you could easily see him winning around, couldn't you?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Any of those Honda guys could win around. So it's tough. And then obviously in the 450s, Reeves got he's got the the two Americans. So
I reckon
it's
he's got about 8 teams within that one truck, doesn't he, mate?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just with the rivalries between each other, it must be pretty hard to manage because obviously not a lot of those dudes probably aren't having too much to do with Cole Thompson or don't want too much to do with him after that because there was some pretty choice words and the social media banter was good and that sort of crossed over to the globe, the American scene, the Europeans, everyone was sort of getting
Yeah.
involved in that and I think the series would have been rubbing their hands together with all that,
Yeah, Mick Sinclair would have been
mate.
like, going, Cole, give me some more of that. Can you do a couple more of those? That's because all everyone, the American, it was like, did you see what happened in Australia? And it was they didn't even talk about who won. Like,
No.
like I heard some reports, and they were even getting the results wrong, but they all knew about what Cole Thompson did. So yeah, that
Yeah,
was
but well, you never know if I guess his past behavior on the track, he just doesn't mind throwing it in there. It's probably a good indication of the future behavior on track. So I guess we might see more of the same.
yeah. He is a I don't know heaps about him, but you hear things about him in Canada that he is one of them figures that he likes to he doesn't mind banging bars and it's like there's not a lot of fucks given. I think
Yeah.
is the way he goes about things. So yeah, that's cool, man. That's
Ruffling
cool. Yeah,
feathers, I don't think he minds too much, mate.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's shaping up to be a good series anyway, like there's not really an off season, man, like for anywhere in the world, I think people are watching the Aussie series a little bit, and then we've also got Paris coming up and World Supercross, man. So and then
I
next
think Paris is going to be really good too, isn't it? Obviously, Lawrence brothers, and you got your
mm,
Shimodas, Vials, Ferrandis. Really cool to see what Mookie does there too, mate. It's
yeah,
People were saying Cooper Webb last year is another one that's always good to watch at those events. He was average last year by his standards, and everyone was saying, "Oh, Webb," but you just can't write Webb off, can you, mate? You say
never.
what you like in the preseason, first couple of rounds, but he'll come around and come good and make everyone eat their words, doesn't he?
Yeah, you never write that guy off, no matter what. Like, remember, was it? It was just it was only pretty much this time last year where we were looking at Webby, and he was he'd had a few good feeds, and he was not looking like a pro athlete, and he was not riding great, and we were like, damn, is this the end of Webby? And then sure enough, he turns up to A1 just ripped and ready to go. And like, yeah, you never write that guy off. I'm a big fan, man. It's funny, man. I never used to be, but yeah, I never used to be a Webby fan. But he won me over, man. And now I'm a big Webby fan. So yeah, it's yeah, just that. How could you not like him though? Like how could you not like him with the just the effort and the fact that you can never write him off. That big chip on the
Then
shoulder.
just strapping on the outdoors for the nations, mate, having not really ridden much outdoors. Him and Tomac really have struggled
Yeah,
for gate drops in their pro motocross, and then stepping up for the country and putting on a good account of themselves was
fantastic, man.
really
Yeah,
impressive. And, I guess it's interesting, off topic a little bit, but Ironman 2025, would love to be there. I'm sure you would too, mate. But the Americans on home soil, they'll all want to be racing. And if you
yeah,
have a Sexton, Tomac, and Deegan team, and you see Cooper Webb and AP will be putting their names in the hat like they always do. That
mm,
nations is going to be crazy, mate. And like we were saying with that perfect storm, there might not be a better nations than that. It's going to be
yeah,
incredible, isn't it, mate? Just especially when it's on American soil, because they're going to send all the riders the best possible ones available anyway. So
yeah.
that's getting a bit far ahead of ourselves there, mate. That's pretty
But it
exciting.
will be amazing. Yeah, it is. It would be a good one to go to, man. But I've always sort of said the first time I go to a nations, it's got to be in France or Italy because I want the
Yeah.
full crazy. I want the crazy experience, the full crazy. The American fans go crazy, but not compared to the Europeans, man. Like
Not like life-threatening crazy.
not like I want that just the full experience. And I think from everyone you talk to, that's either France or Italy is where they go the craziest. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
remember doing a podcast with Shane King recently, and he was talking about that France nations, and he said there was one of everything there, mate, and that sums it up pretty well.
it's funny. It's funny when you because I know a lot of Italians, and it doesn't surprise me at all that the Italian fans are wild. Like I've only met a couple of French people before, and I don't sort of just think of French people as wild and emotional like I think of Italian people. So it's but yeah, obviously when it's a sporting event, they do turn wild and emotional. Like I see him as sort of more relaxed sort of people. But yeah, it's
Yeah, you
funny.
hear about obviously the nations and the Le Mans MotoGP. There's crazy stuff goes on there. Some people don't make it out alive on those weekends. There's dudes just riding around over tents on their bikes and
Oh my god.
revving cars. I think there's no sleep going on if you're in the paddock area at all.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like the old days of the top of the mountain at Bathurst. So yeah, like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was
What
that
what stays there is it's not coming
that
out of the other side, mate.
that was full like no law. The old days at the top of the mountain at Bathurst, it was like full no law, like lawless society. The cops didn't go up there. Like, oh, it was just yeah, crazy, man. Yeah, crazy. Righto, time for an ad read. CDR Yamaha, Nistan Husqvarna, Twisted T Suzuki, Club MX, Rockstar Husqvarna, AEO KTM, Next Level KTM, PRMX Kawasaki, Moto Concepts Racing, Phoenix Honda. I'm probably forgetting a couple. That's just some of the list of pro motocross teams that are using Guts Racing seat covers. How about that? And you also got some privateer heroes like my man Scott Meshy. Guts Racing, the best seat covers in the world, winning championships all around the world. Kyder Wolf, RJ Hampshire, Jed Beaton, oh so close down here. There's a huge range of colors. If you can think of a color, they will have it. Gutsracing.com. That's a really easy one to remember, isn't it? Really easy website to remember. Greg's Ultra Trick Seats. That's what it stands for. You can get seat foams. You can get complete seats. You can get seats with, you can get the bump. The bump has made a big comeback. We're seeing more and more of the bump again nowadays. You can get the RJ wide wing seat. You can get Velcro fitment seat covers. If you do go the traditional staple gun job, you can scan the QR code that comes with your seat cover. It will take you straight to a video that'll show you how to install that seat cover. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? As privateer hero Scott Meshy says, they are a butt gripper and they will make you a ripper. Get around them. Gutsracing.com. That's a really easy website to remember. Gutsracing.com. All right, let's get back to my man Ed and talk more about motocross all over the world, where those gut seat covers are winning. Cheers. Another question, man. So we won't keep you too long today, but interesting on your thoughts, man, on the new brands that are coming into the sport. So Beta and or Beta, whatever you want to say, and Ducati and Triumph, man. Just your
Yeah.
thoughts. Three very different approaches, and what you think of the approaches, and what do you think about how they're going? So
Yeah, it's really interesting, mate. It's a good question you ask as well. And obviously, they obviously start in the GPs just with the ruling in the America there, having to sell the bikes and whatnot. But yeah, it's really, I suppose on the grand scheme of things, it's really good for the sport because obviously with the MXGP this year, there's probably not enough factory rides for the riders available. So it sort of makes it tough, especially for someone you look like Harrop stepping up and there's no Triumph 450 getting fifth in the world championship and putting on a good show at the nations. There's no home for him
yeah,
essentially, and then standing construct going away, and it's difficult, mate. So they can't really come soon enough. These new teams, obviously, Beat has been doing it for a few years and had some pretty good results. Watson's done his thing. Van Horbeek especially was excellent, for sure. And then Triumph had a really good first year of racing across the globe, didn't they, mate? So
yeah,
impressive what they were able to achieve, and yeah, I guess they're probably a little bit more bigger resourced brands, Triumph and Ducati, aren't they, mate? So they sort of had the impact they were looking for. Beta's a bit more steady and it's sort of a much smaller company. And, but Benny Bloss, he showed that bike and do some pretty amazing things in Supercross. And he's an
mm,
exceptional rider, probably a little bit underrated, but they always sort of have the tall blokes, Monticelli and Watson and Benny Bloss seem to do good things on the Beta, mate. But
yeah,
even Levi Rogers in Australia, he had some pretty good rides on it too, mate, with that team there. But yeah, the future's bright in that Ducati, Cairoli, fitting for him to debut that in MXGP, and then Lupino won the Italian title on it, and that Desmo technology, obviously bringing a little bit something different to the table, mate, which could be a nice string to their bow. And yeah, I reckon it's going to be exciting to see how they shape up because you definitely know they've got the tech and the resources, the infrastructure, the personnel. Obviously, that MotoGP, they've slotted some people over there too. So Jeremy Sear on that bike, really looking forward to that. And
mm,
Guadagnini, from all reports, is a super nice dude, super great rider. Injuries absolutely savaged him, but yeah, by the time Triumph comes 450, mate, I think they'll be pretty well stocked like they were in the 250 class, and they'll be chasing riders already. And for next year in MX2 at least, they've definitely got Fares, who obviously seen what he can do in America, so
yeah,
that's good for him. McClellan had a really good year in MX2, super talented rider. And then in the American side, Styles, Swole, Jordan Smith,
mm,
Faulkner, like that's a
yeah.
stacked
They're
team,
loading
isn't it,
up,
mate? So
loading up. Yep.
yeah, and then you hear about Ducati when they make their debut in 2026 in America, TLD, Ducati, it's all the rumor is.
Mm,
Barsha, can they get Roxon? Like that's going to make an impact too, isn't it, mate? So it's,
yeah,
it's only really a good thing, isn't it? Like obviously
it's
you talk
great.
about
I
the
think it's
rise of
great, man.
electric bikes, but it's good these companies are still sticking to the proven formula, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's great. I love it all. That my only concern is sometimes I think, oh, please don't push Suzuki out. Like, that's
Yeah.
don't push Suzuki out of the market. Suzuki, come on, guys, hang in there, get us a new bike finally. But yeah, it's funny. I've said before that the beta approach, it actually reminds me of KTM like 12, 13, 14 years ago. They're sort of already an off-road staple, like you go to an off-road race, man, and there's a lot of beaters, especially if it's like a technical off-road race, man. Like there's it's just the paddock's full of beaters, so they're a huge brand in off-road like KTM was, and then they're sort of even developing their motocross bike from the off-road bike, which is sort of what Roger and Ryan Dungey did, what is it, 14 years ago. So they there is some similarities there as to that approach. Like you remember the bike that Dunge was first on. They had the off-road motor in the motocross chassis and all this sort of stuff. And sort of and they were sort of trying to figure it out, and eventually they come up with the one that really worked. The first factory edition that was basically the bike that Dunge built and that sort of thing. And yeah, so Beta's approach sort of reminds me of that, and then I always makes me laugh that the approach from Ducati has been very Italian, and the approach from Triumph has been very British. You know, like you could just tell like the Triumph's been sort of very careful. We're going to ease into the 250 class. We're going to slowly show bits of the bike a bit at a time, and just all this very cautious, very conservative, very British. You know, whereas Ducati was just full of Italian. We're going straight to the 450 class. We're going to put the Desmo in so we can have the most power of everybody. And here's our bike, bang, here's the whole thing in the first press conference, you know, like no stuff around, very, very Italian, you know. So I got a lot of Italian mates, that's what they're like, man. It's just full on, let's bang, you know. So I reckon that's it's great, man. And yeah, I reckon it's great that Tony's there as well. That's fantastic. You know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, obviously, you look at that deal initially to get him as, I guess, a test rider. He did the Red Bull KTM management role. It wasn't really him, you know. He still wants to ride. He still wants to be involved, have the input, and taking him away from Red Bull and KTM, Monster Ducati. It's a big move, but it was something he wanted to do, and I think
Yeah,
it's a perfect fit for him because Lupino is one of his best mates, and having spoken to him in the past, he's just like one of the best blokes. If you should try and get him on a podcast, mate, he's super chilled, loves fishing, just a really down to earth bloke that just is a super talented dirt bike rider. He even did some nationals in America, went over there for a trip, and obviously not quite on the same resources as Tony did with the Red Bull KTM and all that, but really awesome dudes, and they're a good force. And yeah, it's nice for them to win the Italian Championship to give them some tangible reward. And Tony did pretty well at Arnhem too, didn't he? And there was a little bit of talk that he might race the nations, but I think he knows that level's pretty insane in
yeah,
MXGP. It's
yeah, yeah,
kind of it's pretty brutal. That's why, with the age rule, there was a talk, oh, some of those Aussie guys gonna, go and race, and some of the 250 blokes are like, nah, I'm racing the 250 in Australia, but I'm not going to go and step up to an MXGP bike and get absolutely smashed because those dudes are something else, aren't they, mate? So yeah, really
yeah.
good time for the sport. GPs should bring a nice bit of interest with that Ducati from across the pond too, mate.
It should do, man. Absolutely, man. Nice, man. Now I know we don't want to keep you too long today. You got something on this morning, so we might wrap up, man. I might just ask you just maybe one of my quick fun questions, and then I'll outro us with a bit of Kenny Rogers, man.
Oh,
Let,
nice.
let's look, dude. Here we go. Teenage crush, man. I haven't asked this one for a while. Who was the celebrity teenage crush? So you're in your 30s. Let me even guess. You're in your 30s.
Jeez,
So
I'm having to think back, mate.
you're in your 30s. So it was probably someone like who have I had recently? It was probably someone like Buffy
Geez,
or or Pammy
I'm sure.
Anderson, or yeah, you'd be about that sort of vintage.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back, mate. Maybe like a Catherine Zeta-Jones in the
Oh yeah,
movie with Sean Connery. That's sort of,
yeah,
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 mate. I've been married over been with my wife over 10, 11 years now. So you sort of put those questions to the back of the mind, don't you? But
yeah.
yeah, that's
I don't. I just tell my wife. Yeah, I get in trouble a lot, man. That's so yeah. Catherine
yeah. No, I
Zeta-Jones. That's
can't,
one I
what
haven't had
was the
before.
name of
That's
that movie?
when
Was
she
it
was
Entrapment?
she
Entrapment, was that
yes,
right?
that's it. Yeah, she was
Yeah.
a thief. They were a thief team. It's a burglary team. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
That
one
was the one where
with
she
the
was in
laser
the
light
lasers and she's
alarms.
sliding in with the black latex through the
Yeah,
lasers and all that. Yeah, man, I can picture it.
that's the one.
Yeah, I can
That's the
picture it.
one.
I reckon, man, we made sure we rewound that a few times. Yeah, yeah. That's it. We would have hired that on VHS from.
That's a 1999 movie. Just looking that up, mate.
Yeah.
That's
Still,
kicking it back, showing the age a bit, isn't it?
yeah. Oh, very good, man. That's good fun,
Okay.
man. All right, man. I'll do this outro and then we'll let you go, man. You've
Yeah,
listened,
thanks
man.
again for giving us a chance, mate, and taking the time. And we'll have to get you back on, once the Supercross and that starts up again. We had a good podcast with you and Jeff, mate, talking all things Aussie and Aussie Moto, US Moto, and it's good you lads. It's sort of, as we say, mate, not too precious us Aussies, mate. So it's good to get some good opinions and good to chat with another Aussie and keep up your good work, mate, because it's cool to see good blokes and Aussies succeeding.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. All right. If you know the words, you can join in, man, of course. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light, and the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression, Said if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em,
Hold 'em.
know when to fold 'em,
Hold 'em.
know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. My man Ed, thank you very much for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon, man.
No worries, mate. Thanks again. All the best and keep up your good work.
Thank you, man. You keep up your good work too, man. Cheers. All right.
No worries,
Bye.
mate.
No,
Have a good
right.
one.
All right. Cheers.